Piers Cormann, thanks for your time.
Good to be here.
As a senior cabinet minister, let me ask you honestly, how do you think the Prime Minister has begun this year politically?
Obviously, we've had to deal with some issues. Obviously, we would have liked the year to have started better, but we're very confident about 2015. We're very optimistic that 2015 will be a good year for Australia, and obviously our objective is to build on the progress that we've made in 2014 with building a stronger, more prosperous economy, creating more jobs and repairing the budget.
Has that job been made harder by the blunder this week on Prince Philip?
The Prime Minister has taken responsibility for the decision he's made. He's learned his lesson. He's indicated that he will consult more widely in the future. That's a good thing. I think it's now time to move on and to actually focus on the important issues for Australia, and that is how do we best deal with the challenges coming our way? How do we best position ourselves to take advantage of the opportunities coming our way?
I want to talk about some of those, but can I just ask you, as someone like so many Australians who's come here as a migrant, not from a British background, what does the royal family actually mean to you?
I think, I'm a very strong supporter of our constitutional monarchy. I think it's a system of government that has proven itself over decades and decades, and indeed over hundreds of years around the world. From my point of view, I came to Australia, of course, from Belgium, which also has got a constitutional monarchy as its system of
So you
of
see the
government.
value in keeping it in?
I absolutely see the value in terms of stability over time, and of course, in Australia it's worked very well for us.
Now, what about Peter Crettlin, the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff? Rupert Murdoch says she needs to do the patriotic thing and go.
I disagree with Rupert Murdoch. You wouldn't be surprised hearing me say that. Rupert Murdoch is an eminent Australian. He's been extraordinarily successful on the international stage, but on this one I disagree with him. Peter Crettlin does an outstanding job. She does a very important job for the government. It's obviously a very central job in government, being the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, and as far as I'm concerned, I look forward to working with Peter Crettlin in that role for many years to come.
Let's move on to some of the challenges this year. I wanted to ask, though, given the government is starting in a somewhat weakened political state, is the government going to curl into a ball, adopt a small target, do nothing that's going to be unpopular, or will you still be ambitious on some of the things you want to do?
We'll continue to be ambitious about putting Australia on a stronger foundation for the future. We made significant progress in 2014. In 2014, we were able to scrap the carbon tax, to scrap the mining tax, to reduce red tape costs for business by more than $2 billion a year, to finalise 3 key free trade agreements with key economies in the region: China, Japan, South Korea. All of that focused on building a stronger economy, creating more jobs, and we have made significant progress when it comes to budget repair. Yes, there is more work to be done. Yes, we faced some additional challenges, global economic headwinds, decisions, delays and negotiations in the Senate that didn't always go our way, but we continue to focus on heading in the right direction, making progress, putting Australia on a stronger foundation for the future.
You've got this year, though, the IR review that's underway by the Productivity Commission. You've got a tax review coming up as well. On industrial relations, Tony Shepherd, the chair of your own Commission of Audit, is urging the government to make the case for change. Will you make the case for change? Is there a case for change?
It is incumbent on all of us across Australia to participate in the conversation about how we can best improve our workplace relations system into the future, how we can best improve our tax system into the future. At the end of the day, what is our challenge? We need to ensure that as a nation we are as competitive internationally as possible.
So what does that mean for industrial relations?
Overall what it means exactly that. So we need to be as competitive internationally as possible. We need to ensure that we continue to bring down the cost of doing business in Australia. We need to ensure that we can continue to strengthen economic growth, generate more jobs, so that everyone across Australia has the best possible opportunity to get ahead.
So, for example, the business community is saying penalty rates on a weekend are the standout here, stopping a lot of small business hiring and opening their doors on a Sunday. Is that something that needs to be fixed?
There are some legitimate issues here that need to be talked through. We obviously are not going to preempt what the findings of that process are going to be, and and in the lead up to the next election, we will be putting forward our policies for a second term as part of a second term agenda. In the meantime, it is very important that everyone across Australia who has got a contribution to make puts their hand up and expresses their views, puts forward their ideas and their suggestions, and the government, of course, will put forward a program to further strengthen Australia into the future in the lead up to the next election.
And is tax in a similar basket? You'll wait for the outcome of the review and take to the next election any change?
That's exactly right. Our focus with tax is how can we have lower, simpler, fairer taxes, how can we raise the necessary revenue to fund the services of government in the most efficient, least economically distorting way possible, so that we don't detract from our economic growth potential, so that we do have the revenue available to ensure that government can provide the services it needs to provide.
Can we afford to wait, though, another couple of years to do that?
Well, it's not as if we're standing still and not doing anything. I mean, you know, what we are doing in this term is implement the commitments that we took to the last election, and that has already included removal of the carbon tax, which has helped put downward pressure on inflation, which has helped reduce the cost of electricity, which has helped reduce the cost of living for families, which has helped reduce the cost of doing business. And we've already got rid of the mining tax, which has helped in terms of attracting investment in what is a very important industry for our economic future. So, I mean, we are rolling out our first term agenda. We're working now on setting the foundation for our second term agenda through those various processes that I've mentioned.
Right now, though, you're well into the work on the second budget for the government. You're receiving submissions already today. The Peak Welfare Group ACOS have given you a list of ideas, amongst them entirely scrapping the private health insurance rebate. All up, their ideas would save $13 billion a year. Are any of them attractive?
Well, we'll consider the submissions put forward by everyone and all organisations from across Australia. But in relation to health, what I would say is that the policy challenge for any government at a federal level is how best to ensure that all Australians can have affordable and timely access to quality health care in a way that is also affordable for the taxpayer over the medium to long term. And of course, what we know here in Australia is that the best way to achieve that is to have both a strong public and a strong private health system. And some years ago, private health insurance membership was in free fall, and the private health insurance rebate was a very important policy lever to restore that balance. From the coalition's point of view, obviously, the private health insurance rebate is something that we continue to be very strongly supportive of.
So you don't want to strip that away from anyone else?
We remain strongly supportive of the private health insurance rebate as a very important policy reform in the Howard government years, which has significantly helped restore the balance between private and public health that was very much getting out of whack before then.
And a final question on public health, I suppose. Can you spell out for me what is the government's position on the GP co-payment, on Medicare itself?
Well, the government's position is that we want to strengthen and protect Medicare for the long term, that we want to ensure that vulnerable patients, pensioners, concession card holders and the like continue to have access to bulk billing, but that those of us who can afford to pay more do pay a small proportion or when we access relevant medical services. We think that that is an important reform. It's about providing a price signal, about providing a value signal, as Health Minister Susan Lee has said earlier today.
Could that be through means testing bulk billing?
It's about, currently the Health Minister is conducting consultations with the AMA and other stakeholders. We will have some more to say about that in the coming months, and no doubt there will be something in relation to all of this in the budget. The important point here, though, is that health expenditure, and in particular expenditure on medical services, has been growing faster than the economy and faster than inflation for some time. It's projected to continue to grow faster than the economy and inflation for some time to come. We need to do something in order to get funding for medical services on a sustainable trajectory for the future.
So the new position will be announced in the budget?
Obviously there's only one aspect of the whole package to strengthen Medicare which has been taken off the table. Everything else remains on the table, and Health Minister Lee is currently consulting with all stakeholders to essentially come up with the best way forward.
All right, Finance Minister Matthias Cormann, thanks for your time.
Always good to talk to you.